Mm. Damn, let's get that. So like that. Where's that stuff? Too much makeup? Yeah, I know. All right. Get everything set there. All right. So thumbs up, thumbs up. We do have our poll, and we're basically looking at this case there out in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Again, another race soldier is on trial, and the white supremacists have been at work. But welcome back, welcome back. Now, a lot of you said, well, where the hell have you been? Lawyer Henderson TV. Well, ScrewTube had suspended me for a week or so regarding what they claim to be, I guess, copyright or infringement or strike on my account. They're accusing me of all kinds of stuff. And they were like, basically, you're violating this policy and that policy, accusing me of, copyright infringement and interfering with certain types of rights and stuff like that. And then talking about that I am basically engaging in what they call a disinformation campaign. In other words, niggas, stop and talking and enough of talk about that black empowerment stuff, nigga. If you were talking about twerking and talking about, going out there and, other things that they like to talk about, to dehumanize the black community, then yes, we'll bring a lot of people to your algorithm. But so enough of that black talk, nigga. That's the reason why we put you or we struck your video down. That's the reason why you're on our quote unquote SHIT list. And my response to that is that I'm Lawyer Henderson TV. Of course, I'm going to make your list. You're going to get upset. But should I apologize? Hell no. Let's keep them pissed. The Lawyer Henderson podcast show is back after our suspension. I think they suspended me the same time they suspended Whoopi Goldberg. I was always going to get ready to go on, and they like, no, nigga, we suspended you. You can't come on. Like, wow, okay, they suspended us. But no, man, but I'm back here. They said if I do it again, it will be 30 days. In 90 days. So they give you a week, then it's 30 days, 90 days, the niggas are 6 months, and then I think, nigga, your YouTube channel is gone. So again, all of this talking, this black empowerment, it'll talk enough, nigga. Oh man, these folks are crazy. But join me today. Thank you all for basically tuning in to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. We have a lot to talk about, so we talk about today. So we're going to stay on a little bit longer because the reason why we have to stay on a little bit longer because listen, all of these things have been a lot of stuff going on since I've been gone. So I have to talk about all this stuff. I'm considered the black C-SPAN among the black grassroots. So I have to basically do this. But yeah, hit my likes up, my like button rather. Also, don't forget that if you want to donate to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show, we do have our cash app there. $ Lawyer Henderson 40. And also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the video on YouTube. And ScrewTube is not hating. Basically, bottom line is just support, okay? And also leave your comments. We also have the poll that shows. Did y'all think that Kim Potter just got a slap on the wrist? Okay. And speaking of that, we're going to be talking a lot about this. We're going to be talking about Whoopi Goldberg. She basically, they breaking their tools. We already told you. We also if we have enough time, to talk as well about the founders, mostly all the black founders of Black Lives Matter. Well, the government in specific states are coming out after them. They're not messing with the white folks. They're coming after the black females who basically have purchased property as well. They're investigating them. So get ready to look at how white Americans and the white supremacists, they break their tools after they finish using them. That's what our brother Professor Truth talked about there. And also, we want to talk about the update of the Lawyer Henderson TV website, where you can be able to look at some of get some information, so you'll be able to keep informed of what's going on our show. And the film David and Michaela, we're going to get back on the set for that. And Kim Potter and Amir Locke, that's going to be what we're going to be talking about as well. That's going to be our main topic of the day. But Joe Rogan, racist white supremacist Joe Rogan, Spotify is holding on to their boy. I'm telling you, boy, these white supremacists are getting so bold, but they also getting much backup from a lot of white supremacists. The government, they on standby. Government's always on standby when white people need help with things. So that's nothing new. And so we're talking about Whoopi Goldberg, Joe Rogan, Kim Potter, and the sentencing of Amir Locke. So let's get us started here. First, I want for y'all to basically listen to this. Fair use.
Thank you. To the family of Dante, right? I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. Oh, and my white privilege.
Grandson.
And I should go to jail.
To your home. I
did not be happy. And if I tried, I'm a white woman, so I don't deserve to go to prison.
Earlier, when you said that I didn't look at you during the trial, I don't believe I had a right to. I didn't even have a right to be in the same room with you. I am so sorry that I hurt you so badly.
And yes, it's not.
This is broken and devastated for all of you.
Devastated as a white woman. And I know that the government got my back as well. And I know all of y'all know that as a white woman, we do not get in trouble. We just get reassigned. And I had all of this here. And I'm sitting here weaponizing all of my tears. And blah, 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 blah.
Hatred is so destructive for all of us. And that I pray peace will always be with you and your family. Again,
I'm sorry.
To the community.
I heard enough. I heard enough. Same old thing. I heard enough. Anyway, let's get on Whoopi Goldberg. So before my suspension, I think they suspended me and Whoopi at the same time. They suspended me and Whoopi. Me and Whoopi got suspended. I think YouTube suspended me, and then Whoopi got suspended. All right, Whoopi got suspended. Then they said, "Okay, let's get somebody on YouTube." That nigga lawyer, he talks too much. Yeah, let's get him. The Hollywood Reporter. Let's give them the credit and this fair use on February 14, 2022. Hollywood Reporter, what the moderator said she and her colleagues on ABC show would keep having tough conversations, and she added that she listened to those who reached out to her. Whoopi Goldberg returned to The View on Monday, ending a suspension stemming from controversial comments she made about the Holocaust on the ABC show on Monday, January 31st, taking her seat in the moderator's spot at the table Goldberg welcomed viewers to the show by saying she's back. We're going to keep having tough conversation, Goldberg said, and in part because this is what we've been hired to do, and it's not always pretty, as I said, and it's not always as other people would like to hear, but it's an honor to sit at the table and be able to have these conversations because they're important. They're important to us as a nation and us more as a human entity. Earlier, she indicated that she recognizes both the opportunity and the limitations given to her by that platform. There's something kind of marvelous about being on a show like this is because I'm in front of a group of white women. I mean, like this because we are the view, and this is what we do, she said. Sometimes we don't do it as eloquently as we could. It 5 minutes to get important information about the topics. That's why we try to do everything. In the 90 seconds remark, Goldberg also thanked those who reached out to her and shared with her co-host that she missed them. I listened to everything everybody had to say, and I was very grateful. And I hope it keeps important conversation happening, she said. In other words, listen, I'm not going to say any damn thing that has to be anti-Semitic if I'm going to keep my token job with these white people. Okay, translation. Goldberg was suspended after during a discussion about graphic novels moves on The View on January the 31st. She said that the Holocaust was not about race. The remark prompted a swift backlash online, with Goldberg issuing an apology on social media and The View. The next day, that day, the show also welcomed Anti-Defamation League CEO Jonathan Greenblatt to discuss the issue. Let me stop right there. Why do these Jewish people get to come over here to the United States, and they're roughly about 2%, I think, 6% or less than 6% of the U.S. population, but basically because they control most of the white media, okay? They control most of the white media, so that's the reason why they get to suspend people like Whoopi Goldberg. And I'm not here to to defend Whoopi Goldberg because her when she did all this stuff that she was saying, even with when she was dating or married to Ted Danson and all that stuff. So we already know what this woman is about. Okay, she's a part of the League of Mammies, who's getting her wake-up call because of the color of her skin, nothing else. She said that this is not the Holocaust wasn't about race, but it wasn't about race. But what was it about? Joe Behar Bray, or whatever you call her name, she's asked. It was about man's humanity to man. And she thought that as a black woman, she'll be able to get away with that. Anytime that you talk about the Holocaust, even though the enslavement of her people was way worse than the Jewish Holocaust, you're going to get suspended because, like I said, these networks are ran by Jewish people. And anything that you say about them, sensitive. They call me anti-Semitic all the time. But the fact is, if you can't, as Dr. John Henry Clark taught us, you can't tell us what Semitic means, then how can I be anti-Semitic? Because we have to look at what the word Semitic comes from, in a sense. And you can't tell me what Semitic means. Remember when we talked there about the LGBT community also being hurtful, what Dave Chappelle said? Nobody is excluded if there's a situation where just certain things, like let's say comedy and stuff. The white Jewish people, they basically finance these movies all the time, marking black folks. They do this all the time. And they use these stereotypes to do it. But it goes on to say that Goldberg was suspended during a discussion about graphic. Yeah, I read that already. I'm sorry. So prior to her initial apology, though, Goldberg tapped an appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, in which she added to her earlier comments and, to some, appeared to double down on her initial remarks. And that's what they want you to do. They want the black person in that, like Nick Cannon had to do. He apologized because this is his white pay Henderson. Listen, you want to stay on top, and if you want to keep on being in your privileged position like us white folks, you don't be talking out of line, nigga. And that's exactly what it's all about. On the night of February 1st, ABC News President Kim Goodwin announced that Goldberg has been suspended for 2 weeks. Joy Behar took Goldberg's seat in the moderator's chair on Wednesday's View and simply said Goldberg would be back here in 2 weeks. Okay, now that's letting. So what that means is that they're letting their only big high-profile League of Mammies. Remember, I told you about the League of Mammies of those who that Joe Biden is trying to put into the black women one of them trying to get into the Supreme Court. All these white supremacists, they have a League of Mammies and they got a League of Bootlicks, Negro. In other words, they're black male counterparts. But Whoopi Goldberg had to look at this, and the white Jewish people were saying she's trying to say, she said nothing wrong and she said nothing out of the ordinary. But how the white Jewish people took it is where they were saying, look, are you talking about this is white on white crime? It is white on white crime. But that's what Whoopi was not saying. She's trying to rationalize with her white paymasters as to trying to show that the crime that was happening and what the Germans did to the Jews there as a way to say, they were talking about humanity there. Okay. And that's all she was saying. And they were talking about why other humans are doing this to other humans. You see? But the actions, though, of some white people questioned their immunity, their human, efforts as far as saying, okay, I'm a human being. Okay, but you're not acting like one. Okay. So anytime that you basically work for these people, you got to basically make sure that you watch what you say. You can't just go out there and just just say anything knowing that these folks are going to be listening. Goes on to say here, let's finish actually. So Whoopi Goldberg got her wake-up call. A lot of these tools are getting that wake-up call. Speaking of tools, the Attorney General, let me see, hold on. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. I wanted to go and so that because I know we had a little bit of time. The Black Lives Matter founders are getting investigated. Listen to this. Black Lives Matter founders getting investigated. Let's see. And these are black women who supposedly have started the Black Lives Matter. And one of them, Patrice Cullors, she spent $1.4 million on a home. And what the white folks did who ran the Black Lives Matter, the white people who run everything behind closed doors, they told the so-called founders, hey, y'all go out there, y'all can purchase. Here's y'all little money that y'all got. Go out there and purchase. And now the government is coming out of the founders who purchased. And they're not going after white folks who are basically who's behind the scenes. They're not going after them at all. Mm-hmm. See. But I was thinking that if they're going to investigate these women in the Black Lives Matter movement, that everybody in that organization, including the white people who are behind closed doors, should be investigated as well. But the Washington Examiner, and I'll give credit to them, BLM's millions accounted for after leaders quietly jumped ship. Now, this is an investigative reporter, Andrew Kerr, that reported on this on January 27. Now, this is last month. No one appeared to have been in charge at Black Lives Matters for months. The address it lists on the tax form is wrong, and the charity's two board members won't say who controls its $60 million bankroll, a Washington Examiner investigation has found. Black Lives Matter's shockingly lack of transparency surrounding its finances and operation raises major legal and ethical red flags, multiple charity experts told the Washington Examiner. So now they're getting a little wake-up call. Like a giant ghost ship from a treasure drifting in the night with no captain, no discernible crew, and no clear direction, Charity Watch Executive Director Lori Styron said of Black Lives Matter. Now, keep in mind, they raised $90 million as an organization. I think it was Jeff Bezos who gave them most of the money. I'm not sure. But the article goes on to read that Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors appointed two activists to serve as the group's senior director following her resignation in May, amid scrutiny over her personal finances. But both quietly announced in September that they never took the jobs due to disagreement with Black Lives Matter. They told the Washington Examiner they don't know who now leads the nation's most influential social justice organization. Translation, they don't want to reveal the white folks who actually runs it. Now go ahead and talk about it. Paul Kramer, counselor, I hope I said his name right, Paul Keminor, counsel for the conservative watchdog group the Nation League and Policy Center, said a full audit in the investigation into Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, the legal entity that represents the nation's BLM movement, is warranted. This is grossly irregular and improper for a nonprofit with $60 million in its coffer, KMR said. Black Lives Matter previously came under fire from local Black activists after the New York Post reported in April that Cullors, then its executive director, has spent $3.2 million on real estate across the United States. The report followed by Black Lives' disclosure in February of 2021 that it has closed out 2020 with a $60 million in its bank account. Black Lives Matter denied allegations that Cullors spent BLM funds on her personal properties. However, BLM and other activist organizations under Cullors' control offered contracts to an art company led by the father of her only child, the Daily Caller reported. Cullors announced in May she was stepping down, and the activists McKenna Thimba and Manifa Bandeli, okay, these are some Nigeria, some women from Ghana, will lead the organization as senior executives. But Thimba and Bandeli revealed in September that they never actually took the job because of the disagreement with Black Lives Matter Acting Leadership Council, quote unquote, the white folks who are running it. Okay. Now, both Thima and Bandeli told the Washington Examiner they do not know who took over the Black Lives Matter top executive after their departure, and neither would say who served on the council. What you mean after their departure? They just told you they didn't take the job. We never actually started in the position, so never received any detailed information, Thimba said. While the charity finances are ultimately the responsibility of its board of directors, which is the white folks, Black Lives Matter bylaws explicitly state that its executive director shall have charge of all funds and securities of the corporation, which they don't, because the white folks are not going to let you handle their 60 or $90 million if they are putting the money up. The two remaining BLM board members, Shalima, Shalama, I hope I'm saying her name right, Shalama Bowers and Raymond Howard, did not return numerous requests to comment asking who has been in charge of Black Lives Matter and its money since Colors left the charity in May. See, you have them putting this is them putting the black folks out there to take the downfall of an organization that is ran by white people. See, this is what we've been talking about. Who's getting the downfall here? Bowers served as the treasurer for multiple activist organizations run by colors, including Black Lives Matter PAC and a Los Angeles-based jail reform group that pays colors $20,000 a month and dropped nearly $26,000 for meetings at luxury Malibu beach resorts in 2019. Bowers declined to comment when reached by phone on Monday. Howard has spoke openly on Facebook about his work with the BLM and his close relationship with Colors, but he appears to have recently taken steps to conceal his role with the charity. As recently as last Friday, Howard's LinkedIn profile stated that he is the director of the operation for an international social justice organization. And quote, we put some money into another organization that black folks don't really run. His page was modified after the Washington Examiner contacted Howard for comment and now state he served as a director of operation for a nonprofit, a reference to Howard's position as the finance and operation manager of the New Impact Partners, a Dayton, Ohio-based consulting firm owned by his sister, was also removed from his LinkedIn profile. You see? And I don't want to go and read all the rest, but man, they are going after these black folks. And these Nigerian Ghana women who was a part of this LGBT thing, profiting off black people's murder and killing, specifically black men. This is what the Black Lives Matter was all about. And so this money started rushing into it, and everybody got greedy. But notice that the white media is not talking about the white people who's sitting on the so-called leadership council. You notice that? So they're putting the founders, these black women, under the bus now. The families of these victims of killings of police violence have also called them out and said that none of black folks have been fed. You understand? This is crazy here. But let's go ahead and go on, moving on. But I just want to say briefly about the conflict in Russia and Ukraine. Again, we saw a little of this during World War One. White on white violence again, and basically, I think black people respectfully should stay out of talking and discussing these wars. Anyway, let's go to Joe. Joe Rogan has a history of, he got, Spotify is basically making sure that this man, they're basically making sure that he's there, that he's going to, see, they have invested almost $100 million in Joe Rogan. Okay. Now, those of you who don't know, Joe Rogan was the white dude who made a remark talking about African people, black folks, Planet of Eight remarks. Joe Rogan responds to viral showing him use the N-word, called regretful and shameful. In the next 6 minutes video, Rogan said his use of the racial slur was taken out of context and that he never used it to be racist. This is what all white folks say when they're caught in their racism. While his Planet of the Apes comment was a effing idiotic thing to say. Okay? This is what got Michael Richards canceled, by the way. But anyway, Joe Rogan has responded to resurface clips of him repeatedly using the N-word, stating in a lengthy video posted to his Instagram account on Saturday that he hopes that this can be a teachable moment. We don't need a lot of white folks coming out here talking about what this could be. Listen, you said a racist comment. We don't want your little fake apology. It goes on to say that I'm making the video to talk about the most regretful, and shameful thing that I have ever had to talk about publicly, he began. The podcast host, who has repeatedly been the subject of a protest led by musician Neil Young, fighting the COVID-19 misinformation on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, said his clips were taken out of context from 12 years of conversation and all smushed together. And it looks effing horrible, even to me. Okay. Rogan referencing a video compilation that featured him in a various contexts using the racial slur. It is also includes him comparing being in the presence of Black people with the film Planet of the Apes. The video has gone viral online and was highlighted by musician India Ari in an Instagram story she posted Thursday. Okay. Willie D came out in defense of him. Well, he did before. A lot of other Black folks are defending him, justifying his racism. And you know that Joe Rogan have a lot of these all white supremacist groups or these organizations on his show. He gives them a platform where he talked this nonsense. And this is basically what we've been talking about. But anyway, the article from the Hollywood Reporter goes on to write, though, that the Grammy-winning singer-songwriter published the clips to clarify that her decision on January 31st, they're talking about India Ari here, to publicly support Young and other musicians pulling their music from the screamer was about more than just his COVID interviews on the Spotify exclusive podcast, a licensing deal worth $100 million, but was also about Rogan's history of language around race. In his nearly 6 minutes video, Rogan said that he hasn't used the racial slur in years and that he has only used it within certain contexts. Now, keep in mind, since this controversy been out about calling Black people apes and Black people the N-word, here come all these other organizations like the LGBT people talking about, he's been doing this for years. He's been talking about transsexual, transgender, and we basically will come out also against him. Oh my God. Because this is not a Black thing. This is a sexual thing. And us transgender, we also have experienced this racism. Stop it. In his nearly 6-minute video, Rogan said he hasn't used the racial slur in years and that he only used it within certain contexts, that includes quoting someone such as Reg Fox saying it on TV in the 1970s, or even repeated use in Pulp Fiction. He also pointed to him saying it's when repeating the title of Richard Pryor's third comedy album. Now, I know that most people, there are no context where a white person is ever allowed to say the word. Never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now, he said. I haven't said it in years. But for a long time, when I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in a conversation, instead of saying the N-word, I would just say the word. I thought as long as it was in context, people would understand what I was doing. Rogan went on to say that these were the only contexts in which he used the word in defending himself, stating that he is not racist. What every white person always say when they called out about their racism. It's very unusual word, but it's not my word to use. I'm well aware of that now. But for years, I used it in a manner. I never used it to be racist because I'm not racist. But whenever you're in a situation where you have to say, I'm not a racist, you're fucked up and clearly had fucked up. White supremacist splaining. Addressing his Planet of the Apes statement, which he said he made 11 years ago and since deleted podcast, Rogan stated that the comments was around him and his friends being dropped off in a black neighborhood and seeing Planet of the Apes movie. Now, see, that's not what he said, but let's go ahead and continue to read what he's, let's go ahead and keep on doing this. He said, I was trying to make the story entertaining. I did not, nor would I ever say that black people are apes. But it sure fucking sound like that. And I immediately afterwards said that that's a racist thing to say, end quote. Rogan said in his Instagram video. But then I went on to talk about what a positive experience it was and how much fun it was to go see this movie in a black neighborhood. It was a racist story, but it sounded terrible. Towards the end of the video, Rogan described his statement as a fucking idiotic thing to say, and he wishes he could change it. Obviously, that's not possible, but I do hope that this could be a teachable moment for anybody that doesn't realize how offensive that word can be coming out of a white person's mouth. And context or out of context, ski-ha, he said. My sincere and humble apologies, he added. I wish that there were more than what I could say. But all of this is just me talking and white-splaining. From the bottom of my heart, it makes me sick watching the video, but hopefully at least some of you will accept this and understand where I'm coming from. Ski-haw! Rogan's apology comes on the heels of growing boycott around his spreading of COVID misinformation, which they accuse me of, by the way, with artists like Jody Mitchell, longtime East Street Band member Niles Lofgren, and writer Roseanne Gay, also joining Young and pulling their content from the platform after a letter signed by 270 physicians and scientists criticizing Spotify's lack a policy prohibiting misinformation. Now, see, they have to add all this stuff in here. That has nothing to do with this. No. Hollywood Reporter, no. See, this is what we're talking about. They're trying to connect what he said about racism and add in, and misinformation about COVID. No. People deserve to have an alternative opinion to anything that they're putting in their body. Bottom line. The article goes on to write, the letter pointed specifically to an episode of Rogan's podcast featuring virologist and vaccine skeptic Robert Malone. And that's what I'm going to stop there because they're white-splaining now, and we don't need all that. All right, thumbs up, still to come here. We're going to be talking about Kim Parr, a white supremacist racist female who basically killed Dante Wright. That's coming up here. But first, I would like for you all to like, share, and subscribe that we're going to be talking about our website here. The website, Lawyer Henderson TV, it's coming soon. And also, in addition to that, we have our poll here on the side. Do you think that Kim Potter got a slap on the wrist. Vote yes or no. In addition to that, we're going to continue to talk more about the situation, the sentencing of Kim Potter, as well, and the murder of Dante Wright. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. You can also basically leave your comments down there as well. Um, let's talk about it. So, the Lawyer Henderson podcast website, we're still working on it. We're going to be, that's where you can basically ask for advertisement, be a guest or whatever. I'm still new to it, so we're learning to bring people in, have a Zoom thing or Skype interviews and all that. We're still on the learning stage. Of course, I've been working on my film Davion and Michaela. Well, about to work back on the film Davion and Michaela, but I got suspended from ScrewTube for what they're calling misinformation and accusing me of advocating some misinformation or disinformation campaign about these white supremacists. I think I forget what the last YouTube video I did, and I just asked the question why a lot of these mammies that is, basically in the that is running for or running for like the judgeship or any position. Why do their spouses have to be white? That's all I asked. I just asked that question. That's all. Now, Joe Rogan, that issue you can find online, and I just want people just to to just look at this man's video. I won't play it here because I don't got enough time. We only got about 15 minutes actually not 15 minutes, but actually 19 minutes to talk about our main topic, which is Kim Potter. So let's go ahead and get to it, okay? Now, the reason why they call me the Black C-SPAN, or the Black Span, rather, not the C-SPAN, but the Black Span, is because we analyze things here on the Lawyer Henderson podcast. We break it down to you. We tell you basically what white people and white supremacists are really trying to say to you as a black person. Okay, really is what they're trying to say to you. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And we'll be, again, taking your calls. We're trying to get a new system, a new phone system. But we'll be back on taking your calls as well. And once we take your calls, the number will possibly change. We don't know it at this point, but we're going to get our phone system back. So we know a lot of people like to now call in, and also growing an audience. I'm not like everybody else. I know everybody else, like I said, has been doing this for 9 or 10 years, and we only been doing it for 2. So we're still learning. We're still growing. And, but yeah, but continue listening here. Here we go.
I do owe you an apology too. I loved working for you. And I am sorry what has happened to our community since the death of Dante. And the men and women who work for you still are good, honorable people. And will work hard.
And it's so hard.
Thank you, Father.
And my white privilege should basically work for me. You see? And these are white people weaponizing tears. White women weaponizing their tears. Listen to the judge. She's on code. Listen here. Watch this.
20 years on the bench. On the one hand, a young man was killed, and on the other, a respected 26-year veteran police officer made a tragic error by pulling her handgun instead of her taser. Thank you to everyone who spoke. I have been profoundly moved by the comments of the Wright family. Dante was very loved. His son has lost a father. And Mr. and Mrs. Wright, I cannot begin to understand the grief of losing a child. I'm so sorry for your loss. Kimberly Potter honorably served her community for 26 years as a police officer. She was a respected officer and consistently went over and above the call of duty.
Okay.
She's a wife.
Okay. Now, this is what we're talking about, people. That's the reason then why you wait till you don't go after the check first. All of these families basically who basically hire Ben Crump, you basically know that they're going to try to give you a check now first. In any type of situation like this, justice have to be served first. The police officer has to be found guilty. They have to be given football years in prison and life in prison. And even if I basically agreed with the death penalty, possibly that too. But when you have what we call this Asian and Hispanic coalition that helps these white supremacists to basically get away with murdering a black people, and we have what is called control opposition, that's the reason why black people are not getting justice. We're not demanding that these civil rights leaders and all these other people get out of the way and stop trying to speak on our behalf, because this is the issue here. The issue here is that control opposition is the problem. Now, that white supremacist judge, you can go back and just listen to what she said. Everybody is upset with her. But the sentencing was 24 months in jail. She's only going to do 16 months, and then the rest is going to be on probation. So she'll be able to go anywhere she wants to once she get out after the 6 months. And if she basically stayed good for at least about 9 or 10 of those months possibly, she can get out sooner than that on good behavior. They announced that, I think it was one of these guys, well, I'll tell the story yet, but he's getting out of prison. White guy who shot, I think it's Jacob Blake in Chicago, I think it is. But we'll report on that so I can get the information, because I don't want to give you the wrong information out there. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe, though. Oh, man. So we have the polls up. Do you think that Kim Potter got a slap on the wrist? And of course, a lot of you are saying yes. Okay, so think about that, though. Now, what happened? Hold on. Hold on. Let's see. All right. Wait. What's going on? Ugh. Hold on. All right. So they said my connection was unstable. Okay. So we're back. Hold on. Okay. So yeah, they're doing all they can to make sure that these white supremacists don't go to jail. They're making sure that they do not go to jail. Okay. But let's get into the article, though. That's what Judge in Potter case swayed by white women tears. The judge, this is the Associated Press, and Steve Karnofsky, let's give him credit from the Associated Press. But I wanted to read his article because this is important. Swayed by white women tears. And the article is very important for us to analyze here in Minnesota here. What this article is writing about. Oh, the judge who sentenced white former officer Kim Potter on Friday to 2 years in prison for killing a black motorist Dante Wright cited the difficult job that police face. excuse me, and Potter's remorse as justification for giving her a light sentence. Hennepin County District Judge Regina Chu choked up as she described the difficult deciding on a sentence for Potter, who said she meant to use her taser but mistakenly fired her handgun into Wright's chest as he tried to drive away from a traffic stop in April. Wright's family and attorney angrily condemned Chu, who is Asian American, for going well below prosecutors' recommendation. They pointed out that a black former officer convicted of shooting a white woman in 2017 in a different Minnesota case got no such mercy despite his expression of remorse. Kate Wright, who is white, told reporters that Potter murdered my son and that with this sentence, the justice system murdered him all over again. She accused Chu of being taken in by a performance she alleged was coached and wondered why her own tears didn't even get such a sympathetic response. This is the problem with our justice system today, Wright said. White women tears trump justice. And I thought my white woman tears would be good enough because they're true and genuine. She joined a small group of protesters later Friday evening, chanting and shouting out at downtown building that they believed included Chu's home. A building they believe included Chu's home. The phrase white women tears have gained in currency amid the national reckoning, I can't pronounce that right. Go. Y'all know what I'm talking about. On race, suggesting that white people weaponize their emotions against black people, against people of color. See, this is why I don't like reading the white media stuff. You know, they don't weaponize they're always with this people of color. This is the reason why no one likes to subscribe to these folks. They're killing black people. They're not killing people of color. But anyway, to protect their privileged position, Potter cried in testimony of her trial in December and sobbed against Friday as she directly addressed Wright's family in the courtroom. Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I'm sorry I broke your heart, Potter said. My heart is broken for all of you. Wright's family had called the maximum possible sentence that the state attorney general office had originally laid out a case for a stiffer than normal sentence, then argued Friday for the presumptive sentence of just over 7 years recommended by the state guidelines. But Chu said Potter's conduct over and overrides exemplary 26-year career cried out for a shorter sentence. Chu has been a judge since her 2002 appointment by then Governor Jesse Ventura and previously worked in a private practice in the Attorney General's office. Before Potter trial, she was a target of a protest by a Minneapolis man who entered a condominium building that he thought was hers, then filmed himself making comments meant to pressure her into allowing broadcast coverage of the trial. Chu took time at Potter's sentencing to explain her thinking. She said that there are 4 reasons to send someone to prison: retribution, incapacitation, deterrent, and rehabilitation. But she said Potter doesn't need to be prevented or deterred from committing further crimes and does not require rehabilitation to become law-abiding, only retribution to pay for the harm she calls applied, she said. I wonder why black people don't get this type of ideal. Let's see. Retribution. We don't get a chance of that. We don't get a chance of rehabilitation, deterrence. What we get is, now, nigga, you basically mentally capable to stand trial, and when you stole that piece of gum out of the convenience store, that did it. Nigga, you're sentenced to 27 years in jail. See, we don't get this retribution and all of this talk about rehabbing or getting or retribution. We don't get that talk. We get these lengthy ass sentencing Okay. But no, this judge said, because of your white tears, we could talk about these four components that's going to help you because you did show that you're rehabilitating. You did show that this was a deterrent. We saw you on that video crying and using your white woman tears to help in your situation. So the question is, did Kim Potter tears work for her? Did Kim Potter's tears help the white supremacist system? That's the reason why we know that there is not a black and brown coalition, because look at what this Asian judge did. She basically looked at this and said, hey, those are white woman tears. And the most important thing to remember, this is coming from Dante Wright's mother, who is herself is what? White. Think about that now. You see, you can't play the same thing, same game. Her tears was also in the courtroom. And when they said that, wait a minute, the Attorney General office recommended 7 years, and they saw the tears coming from Wright's mother. The problem is that, look here, white woman, over here, Dante mom, you got a black son. That's all it was about. And despite you basically saying, hey, this is my son, and I'm a white woman, that's not the issue. She'd been coached, as the mother said, to say, wait a minute, despite you being a white woman, you got a black son, and we don't give justice to black people. That's what she was saying. Goes on to say here in the article, Chu said the evidence is undisputed that Potter didn't intend to use her firearm, and that made the case less serious than other recent killings by police officers. The judge said Potter case is distinguishable from the murder conviction of Derek Chauvin last year for killing George Floyd, which led to a 22.5-year sentence, or Muhammad Noor's manslaughter conviction for killing Justine Diamond, which resulted in a 5-year sentence. Okay. These are the white supremacists using their Asian coalition to help to understand that the white woman tears may be back in commission. And the other white woman's tears, the one who has the black son, this is easy for us because you got a black son. It's easy for us. So your white woman tears, even though it's been considered, the white woman tears, who is the police officer, she's on team white supremacy, and therefore we're going to use those tears to help justify our light sentencing of her. Go figure here. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Oh, the Lawyer Henderson podcast show is back after our suspension from ScrewTube. You see? And the killings continues. Why? Because now the white supremacists police officers and race soldiers are going to be emboldened. They said, well, we took an L from Ahmaud Arbery. We took an L from George Floyd. And wait a minute, we're emboldened because Kim Potter only gets to serve about only less than 2 years in jail. Maybe we do have a chance to continue to kill these black folks. And that's what Judge Chu basically now is telling everybody. He's telling the white supremacists, we're on code with you as Asian people. You see, there's no such thing as a black and brown coalition. The only coalition that she's interested in is the white coalition with Asian and Hispanics. Goes on to write here, and I'm wrapping up pretty soon, that in Potter's need to make a split-section decision amid a chaotic, tense, and rapidly evolving situation constitutes a compelling mitigating circumstances, the judge said. To those who disagree and feel a longer prison sentence is appropriate, as difficult as it may be, please try to emphasize with Mrs. Potter's situation. As President Barack Obama once said, learning to stand in somebody else's shoes, to see through their eyes, that's how peace begins. End quote, the judge said. And this is what they always will try to do. So now let me use this former black cop who also hate black folks. Let me use this black man to help to rationalize my light sentence against this race soldier. It's all about. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe to the Lloyd Henderson podcast show. Oh, we break it down. Now, don't forget that we're going to be back next week if ScrewTube don't suspend me again. The same place, the same channel, talking about these race soldiers. But before we go, we have 5 minutes to talk about Amir Locke. Amir Locke. Now, as you know, Kim Potter's case is in Minneapolis, in another shooting in that same state, I believe, of Amir, along with George Floyd. It's something about the state of Minneapolis, the state of Minnesota, that you got to look at about these white supremacists. Local ACLU demands Minneapolis fire officer who shot Amir Locke release data on warrants. Admin continues Amir Locke during a no-knock raid. The Minnesota chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union announced in efforts to force the city to release more information about the shooting. The chapter on Friday said it had filed a request for data on a no-knock warrants carried out by Minneapolis Police Department. Communications about the city's recent restriction policy changes on no-knock warrants and copies of all body cameras footage of Locke's shooting. Waiting how someone who wasn't a suspect or even a resident of the apartment but simply sleeping on the couch could wind up dead at police hands, says Teresa Nelson, ACLU MFN legal director. So far, the city's attempt to release information have done nothing but cause more questions. The organization on Thursday also joined civil rights groups and Locke's family in demanding the firing of Minneapolis police officer Mark Henneman. You see, we get all these Hennemans, and what was the guy who murdered Breonna Taylor? All these police officers, same situation that in her case, Henderson. You see, now we have another officer from the same department using a no-knock warrant and killing another black person. Same thing happened in Breonna Taylor's case. Henderson right now is on trial, and he also is going to get that same damn slap on the wrist, because this is what the white supremacists are trying to show you in Minneapolis, that all you other white folks throughout the country, y'all better get on call with this. If you think that we're going to basically give all of our white folks here, these white racist people, 10, 15, 20 years like we did they were shaving, you got another thought coming. Okay. It goes on to say here that Nelson said in a Thursday statement she is concerned about the short time frame of the shooting, about the officer's failure to de-escalate the situation, and about the dangers no-knock warrant pose. Nelson also criticized the city for its lack of transparency. And they also talk about the black ownership thing, what the killing of Amir Locke says about anti-blackness and gun ownership in America, the no-knock warrants, the growing legacy of controversy, revised laws, tragic death. There's also other articles that they're basically talking about. But it goes on to say Henneman is on administrative leave while the Hennepin County Attorney, the State Attorney General, and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension investigate the shooting. Family Attorney Ben Graham, oh God, he urged for the banning of the no-knock warrants and has said Henneman should be fired. On Thursday, Crump cited a local media report alleged Henneman has a history of violating people's constitutional rights. Facing pressure from several state lawmakers and activists, the city released footage earlier this month from one police worn body camera. It shows officers a key to enter an apartment before getting commands, apparently startling Locke awake. Who was on the couch and wrapped in a blanket. Locke can be seen holding a gun with his fingers off the trigger. Then 3 gunshots from the police can be heard. The confrontation later lasted 10 seconds. As protests demand police accountability and the banning of no-knock warrants has continued for nearly 2 weeks in the Twin Cities. Hundreds gathered Thursday to remember Locke at his funeral Thursday, officiated by the Reverend Al Sharpton. Oh, God. Andre Locke talked about the toll his son's death has had on the family, adding that he has trouble eating. How do you eat something when you can barely breathe, he said. And it also go in and talking about that they were not even looking for Amir Locke. He was not on the warrant. And how did they get this key? This is really what's not really worked out, not making sense. How did they get a key? Who gave them a key to that apartment complex? Okay, so we have to understand a lot of these things that's happening about killing Black folks. That has become the personality of the white supremacists who run this nation here in America. The killing of Breonna Taylor, the killing of George Floyd, the killing of Amir Locke, all of the killings of Black people, Breonna Taylor, all of these things that justifies white racism in this nation. We're basically, a lot of us are just ignoring it because of our cowardice, okay? We're not seeing the implications that this is going to have and the effects it's going to have for other Black people. Because like I said, white supremacy believes in controlling both sides of the argument. And that's what Nellie Floyd taught us. So basically, the personality that white people like in their country is to shoot and kill a Black person. They want to continue to experience this. This is not going to be an Asian. This is not going to be Hispanics. This is not going to be other people or even a white person that is experiencing these killings and murders and violence. This is Black people who have to deal with this. And the white media want to come out and say, oh, this is people of color and blah, 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 blah. No, it's not people of color getting shot and killed by these race soldiers. It's only Black folks. Okay? So we're going to wrap up here. We're going to close out this video essay and podcast. And we have our polls up there to question, what do you think? And a lot of you are saying, even in the comments, that she did get a light sentence. And we're going to continue to follow the Amir Locke story as well. We're going to continue to do that. But we also are going to come back. We have to also talk about our reparations campaign. The reason why Black people get shot and killed by the police is because we are economically poor. We don't have money. We have so many Black people selling us out so much that there's not a code of conduct as to how we do business in the Black community, because they know that we're disorganized. They know that they can use the Pookies and Ray Rays to kill those who wants to start something like this, who wants to implement a code of conduct to say, hey, you Black folks are out of code of what y'all doing. You civil rights leaders, y'all need to shut up. You other organizations, y'all need to stop trying to claim that you're here to help Black folks. And that's what we have to start to undertake. If you have not subscribed to the Lawyer Henderson YouTube podcast show, thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. And ScrewTube basically has suspended me, but I'm back here on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Keep it. I was going to say keep the faith, but you know, I'll say it.